All right, everybody. This is a little bit of scary news. Christian nationalists are teaming up on illicit push to get churches to campaign for Trump. Who would have thought Turning Point USA's Charlie Kirk is one of the people pushing for this primarily? Christian nationalists are joining forces to recruit swing state MAGA-leaning churches to help elect Donald Trump in 2024. It's a brazen effort to transform religious congregations, which are technically supposed to keep electoral politics out of the pulpit, into a campaign powerhouse for the former president. This is where we kind of have to acknowledge the fact that particularly Christianity in America is a weapon of the right. If you are someone who has a faith that's very personal to you, I think that's completely fine. But organized religion around the world, and especially in America, has been possibly one of the most damaging institutions ever. I mean, hell, we don't even tax churches in this country. They make shitloads of money, and yet none of it goes back to the country that they exist in. And that's just one of the ways that churches have been using their power and been, influenced to do awful things and to get away with awful things. God, my nose won't stop itching. What is going on with it? I need to, pluck my nose hairs or something, guys. During a weekend broadcast of his podcast, the influential Christian nationalist apostle, he calls himself, Lance Walnau, unveiled a new collaboration with Turning Point USA that aims to get civically enlightened pastors to turn out their faithful for the America First agenda. The effort will be primarily focused, Walnau said, in the purple states of Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia. They want to try. They're doing everything they possibly can to try to get Georgia, Redizona, and Redconsin. Damn. God, what is going on? I'm losing it. Oh, God. Okay, I'm good. For weeks, Walnau has been dropping hints about a swing state effort to turn out coreligionists for Trump. And during the Saturday broadcast for the Lance Walnau Show, he announced that he's joined forces with Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, a powerful conservative group that has recently embraced Christian nationalism, including by promoting a 50-state prayer tour at the nation's state houses. Christ. For those who don't know, Turning Point USA is like this... It's like the alternative to the Graper movement, right? Like, the Graper movement and the TPUSA types have actually had quite a bit of IRL, spats and disagreements and unironic, almost fights and assaults. But if you're, a young conservative, hyper-Christian nationalist in America, there are two paths you can take. Following Nick Fuentes and being, an internet shitposter, or following, Charlie Kirk and going to prayer protests all around the country to protest against wokeness and fight for God or whatever. Either option is cringe. Honestly, I want to say that the Turning Point USA option is actually more respectable, personally. Turning Point USA began as a youth-focused group, touting small government and economic conservatism on college campuses. They always start pretending to be libertarian. In recent years, however, it has shifted into mobilizing far-right religious conservatives holding pastors' summits where Kirk has touted, quote, inerrancy of Scripture and called on courageous congregations to stand for righteousness regardless of the cost. Kirk's personal brand of Christian nationalism is not inclusive, however. He spent much of the recent holiday weekend attempting to trash the legacy of a storied Christian reverend, Martin Luther King Jr. You know what's interesting about MLK? When it comes to conservatives and MLK, there's two strategies. The most popular strategy is to very smarmily try to claim that Martin Luther King would somehow, despite being a socialist and aggressively woke, opposed to the idea of not speaking out against racism, seeing that as worse than just being outwardly loudly racist. In fact, despite MLK having said all those things and much more, They try to claim that MLK would actually agree with them nowadays. They try to appropriate him. There's that. But then there's the other side of things, where conservatives just go full hog and try to demonize MLK and say, hey, I'm not saying his anti-racist message was bad. All I'm saying is, do you really want to believe anything coming from the mouth of someone who cheated on his wife? You know, like, they'll come up with these crazy reasons for why MLK was actually bad enough that we really shouldn't, you know, see him as a good guy or believe anything that he said. Just basically leaning all the way into the racism, you know? The other side of it is the attempt at appropriating him. Like, twisting the words of a dead man into, like, literally going against what he stood for. Xander Hall literally Kirk quotes the content of the character, but tries to say he was a cracked-out adulterer or something. Yeah, it's literally, he goes by that strategy. Those are the two strategies, and Charlie Kirk goes with the demonizing MLK strategy. In his podcast, Walnau described that he's recently been counseling Kirk. Quote, I call him up regularly and cheer him on because he's attacked as the face of Christian nationalism. Unquote. Those conversations precipitated the current partnership. Quote, we're going to join Charlie and Charlie's joining with us, Walnau said. Quote, we had a meeting and decided that Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia are the critical swing states. Hey, if you're a progressive, if you're like supporting the Democrats and don't want the Republicans to win, by the way, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia are also the big swing states you want to focus on too. If like you want to volunteer with, say, Progressive Victory, maybe go to their canvassing house and help them canvass. If you want to volunteer at Phone Bank or something, link down below in the description of all my streams and videos, by the way. Then yeah, those are the states that need to be focused on, because the Republicans know those are the big swing states and the Democrats do too. Those are the states that are going to decide who wins this presidential election. The partnership, which Walnau is referring to as a courage tour, seeks to spur conservative churches directly into the political arena. This is risky business. Under a 1954 law known as the Johnson Amendment, churches and other nonprofits are banned from engaging in any political campaign activity. I have a feeling they'll get out of this. I have a feeling they'll get out of any legal repercussions for that, though. Churches have a reputation for that kind of thing. The law is rarely enforced, of course it is, and has been skirted by churches of all political orientations, of course it has, whether by pastors who make their personal endorsements public or by congregations organizing turnout-boosting efforts like Souls to the Polls. But Trump has made clear he won't punish churches that violate the Johnson Amendment in 2024, even vowing on a Christian nationalist broadcast last May that he'll abolish the prohibition if reelected. Quote, we never enforced it, he said, but I'll finish it this time. Obviously, Trump has been open about wanting to dissolve the separation of church and state for a long time. All Republicans have. They don't believe in a separation of church and state. Well, they believe in a separation of church and state for all religions except for Christianity. Both Walnau and Kirk have been calling on pastors to throw caution to the wind, with Kirk explicitly offering resources to pastors who seek to challenge the IRS. On his podcast, Walnau insisted, quote, we've got to see the courageous churches come together. We're encouraging the churches to stand with us, unquote. According to Walnau, TPUSA had already recruited 2,500 churches to, quote, stand with an America First agenda. It is not clear from his description if all those congregations are in swing states. TPUSA did not respond to Rolling Stone's requests to elaborate on Walnau's remarks, and Walnau did not respond to an interview request. Obviously, this is just an evil attempt to try to weaponize the very powerful Christian the Christian base in this country, against the Democrats and to vote for Trump. It's a weaponization technique to weaponize the church. The Republicans have been doing it for a very long time. They're just trying to do it harder than ever for this election. You'll notice that the Republicans have been getting progressively more and more desperate with each election. They know that their chances of winning get worse with every new batch of young people that hits voting age. Young people are overwhelmingly progressive, and they're only getting more progressive. The Republicans just naturally, inevitably, intrinsically are living on borrowed time, and they know it. They know for a fact that if they do not overhaul the entire political system of this country in such a way that breaking the law and, destroying this democracy to maintain power, if they can't manage it soon, they lose all opportunity to do so forever. Is there a way to stop Project 2025 if Trump wins? Impeachment and criminal charges, probably. Hopefully, his claim that you have to impeach him through the Senate and the House before you can even charge him criminally if he's president is not true on a legal level, and his judges don't decide that's the case. Because if that is the case, then Trump would effectively be immune to all forms of criminal trial or charge. Yep. Pretty awful, pretty disgusting, pretty scary. That's the country we live in. Kimberly Fletcher is the president of Moms for America. In a phone interview with Rolling Stone, she confirms, quote, "We are working with Lance Walnau on..." Of course, Moms for America is working with this. "We're working with Lance Walnau on the Courage Tour." Fletcher says that they could only speak to broad strokes because the effort is in its early stages, but elaborated that churches are a central focus for 2024. Quote, "Everybody keeps talking about the suburban woman vote. Those suburban women," Fletcher says, "are moms who go to church." The suburban white woman vote. Concerned Women for America did not respond to Rolling Stone's request for comment. Walnau also named Moms for Liberty as a partner. Moms for Liberty is another hate group, by the way, as a partner, but a spokesperson for that controversial group denied that it is involved. Walnau is a leading figure in the New Apostolic Reformation, a growing movement of charismatic Christians who believe in modern-day prophecy and other supernatural gifts of the Spirit. This loosely organized end-times movement differs from other evangelicals in its obsession with earthly power, advocating that Christians need to assert worldly dominance to hasten the second coming of Christ. Their entire religious and political philosophy is, we have to seize as much political power as possible for our God to be reborn. That is their idea. That is their philosophy. They must seize as much worldly power as possible for their God to be reborn. Yeah. All they care about is winning. Walnau, who has more than 1 million followers on Facebook, promotes a roadmap for a Christian takeover of society called the Seven Mountains Mandate, which calls for believers to conquer 7, quote, mountains of societal influence, including government, education, and entertainment. Interesting how this is like literally every crazy conservative Christian conspiracy theory about the Jews. Like, they're literally trying to achieve what they claim the Jews have done. Every accusation is a confession. Walnau is also a staunch Trump supporter. No. Really? No. Who was in Washington on January 6th. No, I can't believe that. No. Insisting recently that he was there seeking God for divine intervention to reinstall Trump in the White House. Walnau used part of his podcast to take issue with the label Christian nationalist, insisting it was imposed by Maoists who, quote, want to isolate the Christian nationalists from everyone else. Okay. Christian nationalism is an ideology that insists that Christians hold a place of privilege in the stewardship of America, which adherents assert ahistorically was founded as a Christian nation. I like how they add that ahistorically. They claim it was founded as a Christian nation. Christian nationalists often literally demonize their opponents, because seeing them as under the sway of satanic forces. The movement poses a danger to democracy because it sees no room for compromise, Andrew Whitehead, author of Taking America Back for God, Christian Nationalism in the United States, has told Rolling Stone. Quote, their vision must be the one that comes to pass, unquote. Walnau argued that he and his allies deserve a different label. Quote, we're really Christian rationalists. We see a nation in crisis. Yet he also insisted that if America doesn't receive, quote, divine intervention, it's sunk, adding that the gospel is the only thing that will save America. Walnau's Saturday podcast also featured far-right fellow preacher Mario Murillo as a panelist. Murillo warned that the nation's churches need to unify behind Trump because, quote, our nation has been taken over by demonic power. Re-electing Trump is necessary to preserve America, he added. The church failed the first time around. We did not rally behind Trump, and look at where we are now. Clarifying his view on Trump's heavenly mission, Murillo added, "The purpose of a Donald Trump presidency is not to get the church to hand over the responsibility to Donald Trump. The thrice married Trump's role, Murillo countered, is just to buy us time to achieve what America truly requires, a moral awakening." Well, if this weird-ass hyper-nationalist Christian bullshit doesn't worry you, then 2025 and this together really should. They are really pulling out everything to try and squeeze out this, win. And I think if they win, I think democracy's done if they win. Or at least, if democracy is possible, if it's possible to destroy American democracy, if the Republicans will ever have the ability to do it, and it is possible to achieve that in this country, then they will do it if they win this election. If it's not possible, then they won't do it if they win this election. Like, if they win and they don't destroy American democracy, I just don't think it's possible. Apparently, American democracy is just too strong. But if I really do think if they win, American democracy is cooked. I don't know how it could survive with everything that's happening and with everything that the Republicans and Trump have planned. I don't know. There might not be. There very well may not be a 2028 election if Trump wins this year. We'll see.